Twisted Minds, Enigma, could they possibly, or Twisted Minds, could they possibly end up popping up? And I'm not saying just mostly the chicken dinner. No, I'm talking about being able to back it up with some eliminations, work on their placements too. That would be wonderful for that team.
Yeah, I think it's all a matter of how these matches play out, but the big elephant in the room has got to be, can you prevent Team Liquid from having those performances next year? Because we're talking, they weren't one of the double points teams. They were one of the 3 spots over that 20-point mark in that first game. So if you're Twisted Minds, if you're wanting to even pass Team Liquid right now, you need to make sure that you're having your performances like that last game, and even more than that, but also preventing those squads that are above you, like Team Liquid, from getting themselves in the hot seat like they were last game.
Well, take into account Twisted Minds not only have a great game number 1 today, but Miramar yesterday, map number 5, they secured a second-place finish with 8 total eliminations. So they have the best of both worlds. They get numbers like that again today. They're looking at another 20-plus point game, continuing to skyrocket up the leaderboard, currently in 3rd, so they only have to overtake 1 more place. They're not catching Team Liquid, I don't believe, especially with their consistency, but I think Twisted Mind's going to do just fine. But Alpha 17...
Your eyebrow's safe.
And so far, it's safe. Alpha 7, I'm not counting them out just yet. We've seen some major 40, 50-plus games.
Reflections. Let's be honest here. Your eyebrows are safe, brother, all right? If I'm Enigma, I'm starting to look at all the hats that I have, or I'm starting to look up online and seeing, okay, which hat will look good on me? I'm going to have to start wearing hats. That was the bet, right? Isn't that what he said?
That's how it is. Yeah, well, I think he's just jealous of my hairline, to be honest, but I don't want to be going too deep into that just yet.
Yeah, I just said we need to cover up that bedhead, man. That was my big thing, Enigma. All right? Hey, I'm going in on you because you always make fun of my age, which you haven't done for a little bit. I appreciate you on that.
We'll bring it back around. Don't worry, Taylor. We'll bring it back around. Don't worry.
Don't do it, man. I get sensitive. I don't think an eyebrow slit would look good on me, by the way. Seven, you kind of...
It would look good.
You think so?
Let me see a side profile real quick. Oh, dude. With those dreamy eyes? Yeah, put it off. Come on
well, I might get one. Even if I do win the bet, I might get one now. Get the gas from Seven to shoot. What about the double eyebrow slit, though?
No.
You gotta win attorney with that one.
Hold on a second. Slow down there, cowboy. Let's start off with one and see if it looks good.
Okay, we'll just do one, man. But I like the gay look. I'm a sucker for gas, bro. You give me the gas, I'll do whatever, man. That's just within reason, of course, within reason. Hey, game number 1 is done. It looks like they're taking a little bit to get into that game number 2, but it's going to be starting very shortly. It's Miramar. Get your predictions in. Who do you think is going to take Miramar? Team Liquid dominated yesterday, but Twisted Minds are also on a warpath because they understand it's their double points day, and they're looking to capitalize. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Miramar coming your way.
Ready to find out who's going to be getting this first chicken dinner. Is it going to be one of those double point teams? Is it maybe going to be one of those teams that are currently towards the bottom struggling? I'm looking at IG, 9C being one of those double team points. TK Navy, I mean, anything can happen here, Enigma. I'm not going to put you on this spot, but I kind of want to put you on this spot. Which one out of all the 4 teams that is currently having the double points, which one do you think is going to have the best day? Is it going to be Alpha 7, Twisted Minds, NRG, or 9Z?
Listen, I'm going to give the bias card in right now. I'm going to say NRG is going to start off strong. Hopefully, I'm wanting to see them go up there. They're one of those squads that represents a very big name in the esports space, that being NRG, Galaxy, and the likes of them. And they have the talent, like you said, having Casper, 24K, Fate, Spec. They even have J7 in the coaching role now. So that squad, they have the pieces of the puzzle. They just haven't been able to put it all together just yet. And we saw a bit of greatness at the start of the week, but now is really the tried and true test of, can you perform today? Because you're not wanting to have those 20, 30-point bonus point days. You're wanting to be up in that X Factor Team Liquid range, 50s, 60s, maybe even having the most 70s if you're really to have a pop-off performance like that. But you have to go game by game still, 7, and it all starts here.
Hey, with this first circle that we're getting, I mean, I'm going to be looking at NRG. They're going to be in Primors. This team, if they can loot up and if they can somehow manage themselves to get into the center of the circle, not only could they maybe end up securing some placement points, but they could also end up securing some solid eliminations.
Yeah.
We were wondering if we were going to be getting this hot drop again between X Factor and Alpha 7. It's going to happen again. It's been going to Alpha 7's reflections right now, currently trembling his eyebrows. Oh, man, they might be on the line because if Alpha 7 is able to secure this point, it is not going to be just any regular points. It's going to be double points.
Yeah, I mean, 4 eliminations off the rip. Everyone's landing on this close side. They're not spreading out and handing it over to the likes of him. But Alpha 7, they've kind of dropped a little bit better. Havlik not even able to actually loot inside the building. He has, what is that, a machete to his name, and the rest of the squad, they're struggling to take the fights, but Revo finding the first one, able to get a pump and vector off rip, and for the most part, we're seeing Alpha 7. Yeah, they're full sending it down or up, but wait, McGrellin's kind of lost. They're giving the freebie over. 1-for-1 trade here, 7. It's looking pretty close still.
It is looking a bit close there, and I love that Havlik. You know what? He decided, I'm going to secure this point for us. I'm going to make sure that maybe in the future, Alpha 7 starts rethinking this, even though it won't end up happening. But Baton currently being in a corner between Revo and Mafioso. Who's going to be taking up this fight? The shotguns are going to be coming out. Here it comes out. Mafioso gets knocked. Revo gets knocked. And guess what? We were wondering Alpha 7 was going to be taking advantage of this double points. No. X Factor wants this, boys. X Factor wants to save Reflection's eyebrow.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's just solely Baton. They're getting 2 with 2 pump shots. Havlik now, he's trying to put the pressure on Creel. Actually, looks like, oh, wait a second. Oh, 7, you cannot be having that in the building. Havlik getting knifed by Carrillo. You hate to see it. Now, still, though, you don't expect Alpha 7 to be winning that engagement. Knife versus the UMP, but X Factor, to everyone's surprise right now, coming out on top on the squad wipe.
X Factor, a team that's a bit of an outlier for me currently, where they're sitting in the leaderboard, being able to secure that, but they do end up losing 2 players. If I'm currently Team Liquid, if I'm currently one of the teams that is up 7, I'm smiling, I'm chilling, I'm so calm because of what just happened. And if there's any way, you know what? Carrillo right now, he's going up to the admins. He's saying, does that elimination with the knife, can we count it for, like, instead of double points, can we count it for like times 7 points?
Yeah. I mean, I'd be giving it to him at that point. Come on. I mean, when was the last time we really saw a melee elimination like that where the other player has a weapon? I'm pretty sure Kavlev, he had, what was it, like a P92, one of the 9mm pistols on him. So really tragic stuff to see, and that's mostly on that X Factor sort of fight. But we're going to get the replay right here, 7. Look, the first knock, Revo catching him on the cross, first elimination. But this is the part where it kind of went wrong for Alpha 7. Havlik getting a freebie, and it really came down to 2 players in this building, 7. Neither of them got a weapon, but this is where it all changed. Baton, 2-piece with 2 pump shots. Obviously, this is a bit of a meme situation. We can laugh it all the way to the bank. I'd be looking at him on the stage still. But X Factor winning the engagement off drop, and that's one of the hardest spots to fight in Lipovka, that southern edge, because it's so hard for you to move through those buildings. Really nice stuff to see out of that squad.
Who do you think is currently winning the stare contest between X Factor and Alpha 7? Do you think it's going to be Carrillo just eyeing at the player that he ended up knifing? Or do you think it's going to be X Factor just eyeing at Alpha 7 saying, hey, I bet this is not what you were expecting today on double points?
I mean, I'd really be giving it to Alpha 7 because you're still not wanting to stare down the EWC champs. They were second last, but, you know, that's not something you can really ride home and really discount if you're an X Factor fan. But you know, when you come to this lobby, we talked about that confidence going against these other teams. X Factor showing that even with it being one of the top squads in the lobby, they're not afraid to take those engagements, and ultimately, it allows them to win that fight off the drop.
And for X Factor, I mean, for the upcoming, we're currently seeing VIP esports, but I kind of want to continue to talk a little bit more about that hot drop that we just saw, because you mentioned it. Big confidence is going to be a big thing. It wasn't just any team, it was Alpha 7. If that team can somehow narrow it down a little bit better, because it wasn't smooth. Let's be honest. You end up losing 2 players. You're currently outside the circle. Everybody else is currently just focusing within the circle. It's not a fight you want to continue to have. So at what point, Enigma, looking at these teams, looking especially at X Factor, do you go, you know what, we don't want to continue with this hot drop. We already got the bragging rights. We already ended up winning one of the hot drops. When do they decide to maybe switch it up?
I mean, it's mostly just a matter of who's winning that drop. And if X Factor is winning it, even if it is 2 of them getting eliminated like we just saw, I think you still take that, because at the end of the day, Alpha 7's walking away with 0 points on their bonus points today. And I'd really like to bring it back to that idea of, they lost 2 players, but in my mind, it really was only 1. If they were to play that last sort of initial elimination correctly, they should have had 3 players still alive in that 3-stack building. But X Factor, hopefully they'll be able to kind of learn from that mistake going forward. But that squad, they've been a fan of going for some of these fights early, and they've been winning a lot of them. My question mark for that squad has always been the late game. They played too big of splits, or maybe they're just kind of disconnected on ideas they want to play. But that squad now, with these sort of fights they're taking, I'm enjoying what I'm saying, because it's not against the likes of 9Z or Intense Game that are near that bottom part of the leaderboard. It's against the people right next to them, and that allows you to still propel yourself, even if it's only 2 or 3 points, just a little bit higher in front of them.
And I'm really happy that you bring up that late game in regards to X Factor, and we can actually expand on it a little bit more, because the biggest reason why I was personally saying I feel like they're a bit of an outlier, because if you take away those bonus points that they got, man, their placement points are absolutely horrible. They have a lot of teams below them that have a lot more placement points. Right now, X Factor is sitting, before we started this match, they were sitting at 22 placement points, and that's not where you want to be. Yes, bonus points are amazing. Good job. You currently have one of the best bonus points day out of PMSL America's Fall Split, but you don't want to end up with those kind of numbers. It's going to get you absolutely nowhere, especially when everybody ends up getting their bonus points in.
Yeah, and the placement points, it's really a tried and true test of who's getting the eliminations throughout the match. And usually, when we think of teams getting placement points, they get more eliminations, but it's kind of 2 out of our NA squads that are competing here. I got to throw NRG in that mix as well. Of these sort of placement points are not coming together at all. It's only these early engagements, and maybe it's the luck of the zones or whatever else they're able to get the positioning now. But these squads, at least from the NA side, they're good at these team fights, but lacking that late game.
They are lacking the late game, and you know who's currently not lacking the aggression? Loops and Team Kess, because they're going to start getting into a fight. Great cover there by Mila, being able to secure that trade and going to be able to pick up his teammate, which is good for Team Kess, because they ended up losing a player very early on. And guess what? Loops, with this push, a little bit too late. You would have liked to see that back up a little bit earlier. And now you got to be careful, because you have Twisted Minds on the horizon too. Very close. Looking at what you're going to end up doing.
Yeah, I mean, this southern building is just an absolute disaster for Team Queso to give up Twisted Minds looking to fight it. But wait a second, Seven. There is Inko Gaming now coming in. Everyone's hearing shots, and everyone's wanting their piece of the pie with the points. And then Abete looks like he was able to find one player lacking on the edge. I think that was the Loop solo. So Twisted Minds now being turned their sights towards Team Liquid as well. We actually see in the background starting to move in towards this, and I believe now we're down to just a duo, sort of 2 teams in this compound. But even if you were to take this fight as Team Queso, you got to worry about now Inko Gaming coming in for the third party.
Yeah, Team Queso, I mean, they started off amazingly, right? The first 2 days were so great. Yesterday wasn't one of the best days for them. This team definitely fell off. I mean, the placement points were just all over the place. They are able to a team that kind of frags out. And with this fight, I mean, we're talking about Twisted Minds. We're talking about Team Queso. We saw Loops passing by too. Third party after third party after third party. Inko was like, all right, we hear you. How about we hop onto the action as well? And it's good to see this out of this team, because the biggest question mark for this team right now is, where is the team's chemistry at? It's good to see them currently where they are located, taking their time, not pushing anything if they don't have to, and waiting to see what's going to happen here between Twisted Minds and Team Queso.
Yeah, my eyes are really set on Rataboy maybe finding a knock or stuff like that. He was someone on this team that we really like to see in terms of those first few days stepping up when it matters most for this squad. And we can't forget either, Seven, that this is Twisted Minds bonus point day. They're looking for every point they can get. They obviously have one elimination as a squad, but with them being able to get that reset, kind of halt this push, they're setting themselves in a great spot, because we didn't really get to see too much of it, but the zone shift centered on this compound. These teams, whether it's the hillside or the building, if they're able to just have some part of this compound in the next zone, they're all going to be having saving graces, because that field on the north side is unplayable until late game. And if you're a squad that's double points, bonus points, whatever you'd want to call it, you're able to start really racking up those eliminations and really setting yourself up for success.
There you go. You were talking about wanting to see the circle. They gave it to you, and it circles down even more. It centers down even more. If I'm Inko Gaming, I'm going to be like, you know what? Maybe we're going to hold off a little bit on this third party, because they do have Team Liquid very close by. a team that they need to be careful for. And X Factor, somehow, they're going to be able to get past those teams at the top. 9C, a team that's currently on double points as well, trying to go for that outer edge play. X Factor trying to find a way to get into the circle. Fury as well. NRG, all of these teams were hoping that the circle was going to go their way. Now they're going to have to switch it up because, boy, these are some tough rotations to go through Enigma, especially where those teams are currently located.
Yeah, we saw some of the squads making the rotations immediately on that zone shift. Other ones kind of just rotating around the edge, maybe waiting to see what spots are open. Because when I was looking at it, 7, that northern side was really only taken by Lubes. But now the rest of the squads, they're sending it in. Team Liquid is holding this compound. It's actually just Vinton on Lubes, not able to find anything. Furia, 4-man sending it, clears it out. Team Liquid looking to potentially third party this fight. But it seems like both these squads are going to be holding hands.
Great push there by Furia. They didn't even get a player knocked. It couldn't have gone any perfect for them. X Factor trying to find a shack there. Inactive's only the one that's able to go into that little building right there. I think he might be able to pick up a ton. We'll see if that's going to be able to happen. But Furia, right now, looking really good. I really enjoyed that push out of that team. There you go. That last player is going to end up getting eliminated. One of the players that was knocked there is going to end up getting eliminated. Inactive is just going to be hoping that they forget that he's here. And he's going to be hoping that the circle does end up going his way.
Yeah, Inactive has a really crucial role in the shack spot. As much as we like to say, the shacks are kind of deadly, he's got this off angle. The rest of his squad is on that western side, really being able to kind of give that sort of off angle if a team was to push him, because that hillside, you want to control that and having the essence of all that northern field from your position. Lubes, Furia, they're not going to take any pod shots your way from your southern side. So your only sort of problem is going to be that field play, and that's why a lot of these teams opt to either send the shacks like X Factor did, or they choose to try to stay on the edge or in blue zone even as long as possible.
And I know Inactive right now is trying to figure out if he maybe wants to get back to his team. But, I mean, you see how surrounded he currently is. He has even the last player there from X Factor. Very, very close by. And I think he was able to get out. I think he was able to just distract him enough with those smokes where they're going to be able to push out and go back to the top of that hill. And if I'm FS, if you're in this situation, Enigma, right, would you want to just stop shooting and let the teams kind of just fight each other out and hopefully they end up forgetting about that you're there? Or do you do what FS is currently doing and just try to take those shots? See if maybe you could somehow get a knock and possibly turn that knock into an elimination point.
I think you got to play loud a bit, but definitely not be peeking like how he is. You got to be kind of just shooting your gun into the ground, making people think that, maybe there's more than one player in the shack with you. And look at that. He actually got the shift. It goes up to the right in the zone, northeast side. Inco Gaming, that was the squad that had the hillside. They actually have a pristine spot in the zone. If they're able to hold it, really potentially able to kind of accumulate a lot of these elimination points. But we've got the likes of NRG, we've got the likes of AGG. They're having to make their way in from this western side. And it's a matter if they're going to that compound we saw earlier, 7, or if they're going to go towards the bridge.
Yeah, and I was thinking back. I was just so focused there on FS. I was like, okay, you know what? You were being aggressive there earlier. Stop doing that. Team Cancel's going to get caught out in the open here. The tires are popping. He's going to be just in an awful spot, and somehow he still survived. Okay, there you go. I was about to say, man, is this dude Neo from the Matrix? Because there's just so many bullets going past them over and over again. Team Cancel now down to just one player, and if I'm Poppy Potro, I'm going to be looking to do what the X Factor player FS was doing, trying to find a spot and hope that the circle goes your way, as we have Latin Kicks versus Navy Seals here, trying to see if maybe they could get some angles on any of the teams that are going to be rotating on those open fields.
Yeah, this hill spot's actually really nice to play late game, especially if you're able to hold the hillside and split that shack that's down below like they're doing, because this spot here, as soon as that zone closes, you're set up center. You'll basically be guaranteed into this next zone shift. As long as you're able to keep maybe 1-2 vehicles from having their tires shot out, you're able to really make plays on these edge spots. And to the east of them, we can even see it just briefly. Influence, Rage, 9Z, even the Vicious are going to have to start moving towards them. So if you're able to wait and kind of weather the storm of teams shooting you, they're going to have to start driving in. That's free real estate, free shots for you to take and hopefully pick up a few extra points.
We'll have to see if maybe they'll be able to pick up those points, as one of the players does end up getting knocked. That smoke wasn't covering him enough. You can see IG there on the horizon to FS is just not moving anymore. He's like,
Welcome back, everyone, to the 2024 PMSL America's Fall Season, day number 4. Game number 1 is done. Game number 2 is, we're actually getting loaded in. It's about to start, which I'm excited for. It's Miramar. How's it going to turn out? I'm Taylor Reflections Noble, joined by the wonderful Seven, as well as Enigma, who's been calling the action all day. Granted, one game. We do appreciate, by the way, your patience out there in chat. Hey, we're figuring out as we go along, but make no mistake, the games will continue today. Seven. Miramar, right? Big opportunity for Team Liquid to continue their lead. They already lead by about 50 or so points. Maybe it gets even greater. 9C, also a team that's coming off the back of huge momentum. They're looking great. Maybe there's a chance that both of those rosters do well. So I'm going to leave it at that as we head into map number 2. Hey, let's see what ends up unfolding. Seven, Enigma, take it away.
We got a chance earlier to talk about what was going to be happening in Miramar. I'm going to be looking at teams like Twisted Minds, Alpha 7. You were just talking about it too. 9C, could they maybe pull up some kind of performance where they were able to secure a top 5 with just a couple of eliminations? Anything can happen here, Enigma. For 9C, oh man, it's going to be very unlikely unless for some reason we end up getting a water circle here in Miramar, which, can happen.
Yeah. I mean, we almost saw it, I believe it was 2 days ago on that southern side by Prison. I think it was actually X Factor had ratted out an Alpha 7 player, so really kind of vivid memory in my mind early on in this tournament. But for 9Z, kind of like you said, you're kind of throwing in the doubt hat of, is this team really going to be able to have the same performance as last game? The water play obviously was their saving grace on the Erangel. But this team, if you're wanting to really start moving up the leaderboard, you can't be leaving it up to other teams like Twisted Minds or Team Liquid to kind of get all the points themselves. You got to start finding your own way into these zones without getting lucky maybe on a few zone shifts, and you got to be taking these engagements the right way.
We're going to be looking at Team Liquid. They're landing in Hacienda. Alpha 7, they usually don't end up getting challenged here in El Pozo where they end up going. We'll see what happens with this team here. I can't wait to see what the first circle is going to be like as well. But going by what just happened in the first game in Erangel with Team Liquid, man, if they can continue to perform like that, it's going to be just an absolute run-off too, because we know what they can do in the bonus points. As we do end up getting the first circle right there, X Factor is going to be right away in that first circle, which is going to be good for them. With Team Liquid, not only are we talking about the points here, right, we're talking about the PMGC points, because that's another way that that team can qualify. And if they're able to secure it even more, that means that it's going to end up moving down to another team within the overall, right? And if I'm one of those teams that looking to maybe not, you're not going to qualify in first place. Yeah. You might not end up being there within the top 5. I'm like, okay, Team Liquid, keep doing what you're doing. It's working out great.
Yeah, and I mean, for the most part, when it comes to Team Liquid, their competition currently for the PMGC points is going to be the likes of Alpha 7. Now, I believe that point spread was just over 20, I believe 21 if I'm not mistaken. So this squad, with their performance already, they just got to make sure that they're above that mark on Alpha 7. Then they're secured that PMGC slot. The next thing, if they are to finish first, obviously in this tournament like last split, that slot in terms of placement goes to the next team down. And a lot of these teams, we got to bring up the NA side of it with these squads. And X Factor, I believe, are 100 points or so back behind the likes of Inco Gaming, the previous Titan Gaming roster. But if you're having a performance like this already in week 1, if you're able to secure yourself even more points this first week, you start making that gap really close. And at the start of the tournament, I kind of threw X Factor out the window. I was like, okay, Inco Gaming just needs to kind of show up. They get a few good, days, I guess you could say, per week, and then they'll be the NA represented squad at PMGC off PMGC points. But now with kind of this fumble from Inco Gaming, I can't really put it any other way other than that, even though it might be harsh to say. But they're needing to kind of show up and really show out on, hey, this is how we're going to get it done.
Talking about NA there, look what NRG is currently doing, being able to secure an elimination point on one of the players there from IG, Respect, and his squad, trying to change what's happening between them right now, because it hasn't been working out, and it is a team that currently has the double points. IG is going to end up running away. NA, man, NA, to be completely honest, I said I wasn't going to talk about it when we were talking about it earlier, but you know what, since you brought it up, it has been one of the lackluster regions for Pubg Mobile esports, and boy, do I end up getting bullied every single time I end up going to an international event. I'm hoping the great NA days will end up coming back at some point. We'll find a roster that can definitely put up some great performances for us when we go to international events.
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes down. Jukes is a really strong believer of kind of these roster shuffles our region likes to do. We really swap 2, if not even 3 players out after each tournament. It's really a kind of a question mark of, okay, well, why are we doing this when we look at the likes of Team Liquid, Alpha 7, they're keeping 3-4 players for multiple years at a time. And it's just a question mark of like, okay, you can think, team synergy maybe isn't going to play too much of a factor if everyone's got the game sense, but at the end of it all, if you haven't played long enough together as a squad, you don't know kind of the nooks and the crannies of what your teammates are thinking, and maybe their split decision-making in some fights. That's a really big one. So when it comes to these NA squads, obviously NRG, we've had Spec, Fate playing with each other at least for the last 6 or 8 months, but Casper, 24K, they're coming in new. They're not really used maybe to that LAN setting. Obviously, we've seen them perform a bit, but in this tournament, I'm wanting to see now, instead of this kind of rebuild tournament, we're bringing stuff back in to the veil of things and really actually starting to put our names back up on the leaderboard.
IG stay getting a little bit worse there as Remix ends up getting eliminated and getting caught here by Team Queso. Team Queso, a prominent team. I mean, we've been seeing this team, I feel like, since the start of PUBG Mobile Esports. It's good to see the performances that they've been able to put up. I would definitely love to see a little bit more consistency out of this team. Luckily for them, it's very early on. This is going to be the 4th day that we're going to be playing. Tomorrow is going to be the actual final day. We're going to be there weren't any games on Friday due to some electricity issues that happen within the venue. Guess what? Tomorrow you'll get a little bit more PUBG Mobile Esports, a little bit more PMSL America, so make sure you tune into that. But for Team Queso, I would like to see a little bit more consistency. We know you can have those pop-up performances. Yeah. We know what you were capable of the first 2 games. I mean, my goodness, they ended up with, 16 eliminations, the 3rd place, and on top of that, first place, 17 elims. So we know they have that fragging power. I want to continue to see that team be a little bit more consistency, because at the end of the day, this is just PMSL Americas. Everybody wants to make it to the international events, which the next one is going to be PMGC. Once you get into those, consistency is key.
Yeah, it's always a must, and that's why we see the likes of Team Liquid, even Alpha 7 making it there every single time, and then they themselves finishing in that top 8, because Brazil is a region, and even teams on this western side of the world, they really like to tailor their focus on team fighting, going for those elimination points. Yeah. Back in the day, of course, they used to be tailored to those placement points. It was a lot more passive play. This time around, you got to have all 4 players be able to shoot their guns. You cannot be having someone as a weak link on the squad. And for these teams, maybe in tense game, they have someone, maybe even 2 players that are like that. That's why they're near the bottom of the leaderboard. But Team Queso, I think, especially at the start of this tournament, they've shown that all 4 players are able to show up. We were talking about Big Milo. We were talking about Cold Goat the first 2 days. This squad, like you said, I'll agree with you on it. I want to see a bit more consistency out of them if they're wanting to finish the week off strong. But so far, from what I've seen, I think there's a lot of promise.
Oh, yeah, 100% a lot of promise. And I feel like the consistency, if they do want to be able to have pop-up performances like they did in the first day of week 1, they better have those pop-up performances on double points, because their double points were absolutely awful. I think you were especially talking about it, how this was one of the teams that we were expecting so much out of them in double points. Yeah. And it was just absolutely lackluster. I don't even remember how many points they ended up getting in regards to bonus points. I have to go back and look it up. But it was not what we were expecting there out of Team Queso.
Yeah, and I mean, for the most part, this squad, and obviously other squads as well, it's like Taylor said earlier on, that you're not wanting your bad day to be on your double points day, because every single point matters. That's why we were able to see Team Liquid shoot up the leaderboard, and then even on their off days they're able to match it. But a team that's desperately needing points is Inco Gaming. They're actually finding a little bit of a struggle driving. It looks like actually 2 of them getting knocks on the drive up. I'm not sure if this is a planned play from the Inco Gaming squad, but now Juancho choosing to drive up the hill and take this fight with Team Queso.
The full send there from Inactive. I love to see it. 2 players currently down from Team Queso. We were trying to hype you up. We were trying to talk about that consistency. Boy, did he end up backfiring as Inactive team. I mean, Inco Gaming, they're looking to get those points. This is a team that definitely needs those points, and they're going to be able to secure that. Watch out, though, Inactive. The floor is lava. Don't go into that room just yet. Wait it out a little bit longer.
Yeah, the scary thing, though, is VIP Esports was right on their trail trying to get the shots down. It looks like they weren't able to finish Nenabete trying to crawl into the compound. They were able to steal away a Team Queso knock, but I think this was actually 2 days ago, if not 3 days ago. Team Queso lost 2 players early on to basically the same exact crash from Inco Gaming. So Inco Gaming kind of recognizing where Team Queso is at on these Miramar matches, saying, hey, they like playing these splits. Maybe they're rotating a little bit late as a squad, not as so tight-knit. That's why there was maybe only 2 players on the compound. But Inco Gaming really showing that they're doing their homework on these Miramar matches, but it's not stopping 7. Baton, he tries to go for the shots, but absolutely baited out. You're not wanting to get knocked on the flat. Might even be able to get thirsted out. Influence, Rage, it doesn't seem like anyone is around this compound other than these 2 squads. They're looking to take the action.
Talk about getting a little bit too eager there from Baton. Luckily for him, his squad is close by. Havlik is going to start beginning an angle here. He needs to be careful. The grenade's going to be coming through. Is that nade going to hit a little bit too short there? He's going to start backing up for X Factor. Oh man, Baton just got a little bit too overextended there. FS might be able to pick him up. And the good thing for this team is that it's just only 2 players here for Influence Range.
Yeah.
Now we would have been telling a completely different story. And as I'm saying that, don't do it. Don't do it, Influence Range.
Hey.
Don't try to get that upper hand. Don't try to get that higher ground, because if not, it might end up being a clean sweep. Back away from this fight. You don't need it just yet. And you don't need it just yet because you just lost Little Boy to Twisted Minds.
Hey, I mean, Caster Curse was about to be 2 for 2 there. But unfortunately for that squad, they still lose a player early on. And I was really thinking, man, they got the knock on Baton. The whole team can just full send it up. Basically an Inco reenactment coming into that sort of wall compound. But unfortunately, just really playing it too slow. But Team Liquid pulling up next to Havlik, actually getting caught in the open on the other side of this compound. X Factor getting pressured from both sides. Now, this is one of those squad 7. It's Team Liquid. They were just in the hot seat. Yesterday, they won both Miramars. This is not the team you're wanting to give the first knock to in those nades. I mean, they're starting to rain down.
Put him on your back. Drag him back to the compound. You wanted to get the high ground. You thought it was going to be the smart idea. Team Liquid said, no. Hold on a second. We heard what happened here. I think Influence Rage was starting to get into a fight. We want to get into a fight too, but S Factor being able to back off. You know what? I actually enjoy what S Factor was able to do there. Something that I do have to point out, though, is Havlet hesitated a split second, and that's all it takes in those kind of situations. If you hesitate, if you take a little bit too long to be like, okay, do I want to take the shots or not take the shots? It ended up backfiring, because I feel like if you would have taken those shots a little bit earlier, it would have ended up at least one player for Team Liquid getting knocked, and S Factor might have just had the push there on Team Liquid, and we would be telling a completely different story. But good regrouping here from X Factor.
Yeah, I think a big thing is just carrying that player down the hill. If you go for that reset, we saw, 4 or 5 frag grenades getting cooked over it. There's no way you would have been able to get that reset without either a second knock or just a re-knock on the revive. And that's 10 seconds you're wasting on it. X Factor, I think we've seen it actually 2 or 3 times this week, whether it's putting knocked players in vehicles or just moving them down around instantly. These players are choosing to use a mechanic that I think is kind of slept on in some of these early engagements, and that is picking up knocked teammates to reposition them, because with the vehicle meta, with the shotguns, UMP, even frag grenades getting used so heavily in these early fights, as soon as you get one knock, you got to go for the reposition, and they've been doing just that all tournament.
You're talking about people picking up teammates. You know what I want to see? I want to see a little bit of BM. I want to see people pick up the enemy. Just tank him back to your teammates and just teabag them. Show it how it's done. As we're seeing Intense Game here, trying to make their way up towards Inca Gaming. This is going to be a tough push. You can see the grenades are going to be coming through. They might want to back out from this, because these are the only 2 players alive, and Inco Gaming is looking to secure those extra points. The grenade is going to be coming through. And boy, is it wonderful for Nene Bete, as he gives me a little bit of flashbacks to years back. Nene Bete securing those 2 eliminations there with the grenade.
Hey, the 2 for 1 special, baby. I'll take it all day long. And Inco Gaming, they still have 4 players up. They actually only had 2 players there on the hillside. So Intense Game maybe had a bit of a moment. They could have gotten some more points on the board, but completely squad wiped. Inco Gaming really kind of turning on the switch today. Unfortunately, it's not their bonus points, but if you're able to put numbers up like Team Liquid last game, you'll be matching anyone with double points.
Double points is going to be the major point of this. I already seen it. You guys saw it too from Split. It is just such a massive thing. And a team that's currently trying to get those double points, 9C. I mean, we saw what they were able to do last round. We're wondering, you heard Reflections saying, can this team possibly do it again? You were talking about it too, Enigma. Anything is possible. You just got to make sure you execute to the plan, or you adjust to what the game is giving you. And something that you mentioned earlier too in regards to Inco Gaming and Team Queso, I hope that Team Queso knows that they might not have the same success that they had on the first couple days. Everybody's going to be watching the VODs. Everybody's going to be seeing patterns of how you're rotating. If you get this circle, okay, this team's going to be rotating towards the south, whatever the case might be. They will be able to pick up on that, and I'm hoping that they do end up adjusting the strats throughout the whole tournament.
And that's always going to be the name of the game, right? I know we like talking about coaches and stuff like that. Their roles in these sort of month-long events, we're talking 120 games. If you are sticking to your guns for the first 3 weeks and then changing it at the end, I think you're playing this tournament all wrong. If you're having to find your stride, even your play style in the first week, that's maybe a little bit more acceptable. But some teams, I feel there's either a stubbornness or really just choosing not to really adapt to the competition. And that's where we see the likes of Team Liquid and stuff like that really turn it up. But the zone shift 7, I know that's what you're kind of looking at. Team Liquid, dead center. And a lot of these teams, they still have room to play, but they're choosing to take the fights. Now, VIP looking to nade out Inco Gaming.
VIP this time being aware that there is a team in front of them and actually taking the fight to them. That's a beautiful grenade right there. Oh, it bounces off the rock. Unluckily there for Guria. And that grenade is just going to be right on him. And wow, VIP not looking so good here as Inco Gaming is starting to turn it up. This is more like the Inco Gaming. And this is why I was a little bit critical of this team because I know what they're capable of. I have seen them do it in the past. Yes, I know it is a bit of a different roster, but we definitely know what they're capable of as now third-party Loop Esports creeping up on this fight. Meanwhile, Myth being a little bit patient, seeing if he could maybe find an angle and secure some points for his team because he is the last one alive.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm really worried that Inco Gaming's not going to realize this is the third party. Nenabete just full sending it up, thinking it's a solo. 2 players getting caught out on Inco Gaming and Myth. This is the moment where if they really start trading out heavily on these knocks, that's an extra point, maybe even 2 if you're able to steal away those knock players if they're on this hillside. And look at this, the zone, they're still having to move in. Inco, with having 6 eliminations, they're down to just a duo now after that sort of misplay, that misstep they took into the zone. And unfortunately, the likes of Loops, they were looking to capitalize.
If I'm Inco, I know this is usually what you not want to see, right? But I'm kind of happy, at least with the ilms that they've been able to put up. That is kind of what you want to see out of this. And I'm surprised Myth is actually wanting to do this right now. I thought he was going to be waiting it out, considering that the teams were starting to back off. He's trying to be a little bit more persistent there. Relax, Myth. It's okay. I know we were talking bad about you earlier with what happened with Twisted Minds. We'll let it slide. Be a little bit more patient as Inco's now trying to get into another fight. It's only going to be just one player here, and it's going to be inactive, trying to secure some extra points there. Oh, is he going to be able to get it? No, he's not going to be able to get it just off. Just being able to hide behind that tire of the vehicle. Oh, Enigma, you hate to see this.
I mean, it's really just tough because he doesn't have a vehicle. He went for the shots after Juancho, I believe it was, gets kind of baited and instantly thirsted by Vicious. But now, I mean, he might have some bandages. I'm not sure if we can see a counter of that. But, I mean, still going for the shots. You realize that, it's only time until you're eliminated on Inco Gaming. Look at that zone start ticking as soon as it shifted. They're out. I mean, they have 6 eliminations, which is decent. But you really expected the way they were playing at the start of this Miramar, I thought they'd be doing a lot better coming into that zone shift.
I feel like Loops definitely put a stop sign there to what they were able to do with that third party. Great recognition there by Loops. And guess what? NRG, a team that definitely needs those points, that could end up hitting. And boy, does it end up hitting as he's 1 HP. Somehow that player is still alive. And Fate was feeling a little bit ferocious there. He was trying to go for it towards that fight. Is he going to continue or is he going to back off? We'll have to wait and see what's going to happen between these 2 teams because I think they might just be committed to it as everybody's making a push for this. Grenades are flying out. Cars are flying off. Luckily for Loops, they decided to back off a little bit more and get just some terrain cover.
Yeah, it looks like Casper was able to get the knock on the player that was 1 HP from that frag grenade throw, really aggressing on this pressure. But NRG really needs to be careful. Their squad is split up currently. We can see on that map by 9Z trying to push this Loop squad. And yeah, I understand. Maybe you understand it's a duo on this Loops Gaming roster, but you could still take casualties, especially with a squad like 9Z, who's on bonus points with you today, potentially being able to third party. And with that zone shift, all these 3 of these squads on this north side are going to have to start moving in. It's a matter of who chooses to fight. And looks like NRG, they're trying to take the aggression of Loops here in that vehicle. It's only going to be 1 player with a gun out. They're going to have to start getting the knocks, and knocks now. The zone's closing 7, and unfortunately, it looks like Loops isn't getting any major damage, and Casper gets the bait shots off, getting 1 knocked on Nino. understanding where the second player is on loops, trying to get the squad assembled for it. And it actually looks like, Fate and Inspect both rotating now, trying to send it in. They need to clean this up, and they need to clean it up now. Oops, NRG, they're sending it in. It actually looks like Senatexa finishes out the solo. NRG might be able to recognize this. 2 minutes left on the zone shift. They still have time to work with.
They were flirting with that 5 for such a long time, but NRG ended up working out in their favor. I mean, you called it out, especially during that cast right there. You said how they were baiting them. They took the bait, and they were able to eliminate at least one of the players there from loops, and ultimately being able to eliminate the whole team. NRG being a little bit more aggressive here. I actually enjoyed this aggressiveness that we're seeing out of this Team 9 scene. Thinking about it, Cinetex, I'm not sure on where he's going to be rotating. This might be a bit of a harder fight. NRG might want to, it's going to have to actually make that push. By the way, I want to step aside from this fight a little bit more and talk about currently what's happening, because when we saw that map, I ended up seeing a big split from Team Liquid. I ended up seeing that 3-1 split that they have. And boy, it couldn't be any more perfect for that team, because if it does end up going their way, which it has been every single time, it's going to be wonderful. Let's get the player at the start of the day that was at the top of the leaderboard in regards to eliminations, he gets stopped with a grenade.
Yeah, I mean, it's down to Rado Boy. He's got to save his squad, at least maybe try to go for a reset or two. Actually looks like it's going to be the Latin Kings that they were fighting. X Factor looking to third party as well. And Rado Boy, if he can get the heals off, maybe even get this solo, try to save Federal, or at least get the placement points of the elimination, maybe even in this divot. But these players are trading each other out, 7, and it looks like X Factor is not going to waste any time coming in for the third party. This is a team today that seems like they have found their moments in some of these matches for these third parties. Might be a big nay, though, from Rado Boy. Not going to be the case. And I mean, if you're Twisted Minds, this is your double points day. Unfortunately, not the way you want it to go on Miramar, but I feel like he might be able to live just a little bit longer. It's going to be Latin Kings questioned on the 2v4. Actually make that a 1v4. Not even able to get one. Unfortunate stuff to see, but actually looks like Rado Boy went for it, not finding any eliminations either. Both these squad 7, they were fighting in this divot, and unfortunately, both of them get eliminated.
No hesitation there from X Factor, and that's what I want to see. You commit to the fight, you go for it, and you end up coming out on top. And I love that they knew that there was going to be one more player somewhere. It was Rado Boy, and he ended up getting covered. That way, they didn't end up getting popped off when they were on top of the little cliff right there, throwing down nades. Great play there out of X Factor. And for Twisted Minds, not what you wanted to have, right? We saw the performance that they were able to have in the first Go. I've been hyping them up. I was really excited to see how they were going to be able to do. But boy, that's not how you wanted your second game to go. You want to be able to secure a little bit more points. It doesn't end up going their way, as Havlik is just trying to show off right now with his vehicles doing some flips.
Yeah, it looks like X Factor, they're opting to rotate just south and try to work themselves back. They were in this spot since, I believe, Zone 1, taking that engagement with Influence Rage earlier on. With them having so much control on that south, that eastern side, they rotated what seems to be halfway around the zone for those eliminations. And then they choose, hey, we've had our aggression. We're able to rotate back. But a team that was on this north side, you were talking about this 3-1 split from Team Liquid. It looks like they were able to pick apart all 3 of these teams. I think it's the Vicious. It's looking like NRG and 9Z all taking casualties from this Team Liquid split. And this is the team where, Taylor really likes to make note of the squad being able to get themselves in prime positions. A lot of it, I think, too, is their decision making in these moments. They're saying, hey, this is what I think we should do. And 9 out of 10 times, it seems it's the correct play.
It might end up being the correct play, and something that I ended up seeing on the elimination field was X Factors feeling themselves, because they ended up knocking a player there from Alpha 7. I think the Alpha 7 player will end up getting picked up. So nothing's going to come about that, but good to see that X Factor is currently just keeping an eye out for everything and being a little bit more aggressive. Now, this is going to be massive right here. If Team Liquid can hold this off, it's going to be I feel like it's going to be a win for them. And what a nade that's going to be coming. It goes by Fate. Fate's going to be able to find Mythic. He's not able to knock him, but it gets him very, very close. And now, guess what? It's just Fate himself. Can he maybe make it a little bit harder here for Team Liquid? Team Liquid's going to go the aggressive, and it makes it look easy. NRG out of here. Team Liquid says, no, don't do that again in the future. Now we're going to be focusing on some of the other players, as the Vicious is just getting shot from every angle possible.
Yeah, this is the solo Ayala. He's holding dead center for his squad. No one else coming from the north. These teams are battling for little ridge lines on this eastern edge. It seems like the last 3 zones we've had squads just battling it out, and now we're seeing it the zone closing so much, Seven, the nades are going to start raining in. Team Liquid, Cardozo, he's driving up, potentially looking for this third party, but if you're Team Liquid, you still got to be careful. X Factor just hit this third party play perfectly last zone. Will they be able to do it again here?
You'll have to wait and find out, as now Team Liquid's trying to make that push there. The smoke is going to go away from them. The nade is a little bit too short in X Factor. Yeah, I'm hoping somehow, whatever decision they end up making, I'm hoping they end up committing to it because it worked out wonders for them. Some grenades are going to be going into the smoke. It does hit. Wonderful nade there by Mythic as he's able to eliminate them. And Team Liquid right now, ladies and gentlemen, they're looking good. They're feeling, I said it earlier and I'll say it again, they're feeling like it's their double points again.
Yeah, I mean, that squad, they had so much pressure on the north. I look at it, 9Z is so scared to wrap. They think someone is still holding that warehouse, but Team Liquid's like, no, we're going to call your bluff. We're going to work this side of the zone and really start pressuring teams. Now they moved up to that next lift. They're looking at X Factor, and I mean, if you're X Factor, you got to really be careful here. The nades have been on point, especially from Mythic, like we just saw with the double nade knock. They currently have 6 elims to their name, and these teams, they do have a little bit of zone to work with. It's not like Alpha 7 where they're holding center, but these teams now, the zone gets smaller and smaller every shift, 7. And with this hillside it's hard to find a spot in the zone.
The difference in play as well right now between Team Liquid and Alpha 7 is absolutely massive. I mean, we highlighted earlier that 3-1 split that Liquid was having. Alpha 7 now being able to take a little bit more control, but they're going to be outside the circle. It's going to get a little bit tougher for this team. Actually, they are inside the circle now. It's not going to be as tough for this team, but they're not being able to be as aggressive because every single time they pop their heads, that's exactly what happens. It happened earlier, and it just almost happened again with X Factor just being that annoying little brother trying to find any angle possible. And right now, instead of an annoying brother, they're actually being the big brother and helping out Alpha 7, stopping the push there from Furia.
Yeah, and X Factor, they're able to confirm both of those knocks on the Furia players driving up Alpha 7, not able to find any freebie points on the shack. It actually looks like it's going to be a solo. Never mind, Kaiowski found out Alpha 7, they were happy to have that saving grace, but you really need to be finding at least 1 or 2 eliminations from that squad wipe. That's not the case. And look at this. I mean, we're down to the top 4 teams, but Alpha 7, even with 4 players up, they're looking like they're in the back seat this game.
They are, and I mean, that's what I'm talking about. I feel like they just haven't really been able to do much. The position that they're in right now is going to be absolutely awful. Luckily for them, they might be able to get some extra utility from the Furia players, especially the 2 players towards the bottom, which is Rebel and Carrillo. They might end up getting those extra smokes, allowing them to push up to their teammates and maybe set up some kind of plan here for X Factor, because right now X Factor is having an amazing game. 8 eliminations going their way. Everybody's starting to pop off. We saw a little bit of hesitation earlier. That's out of the way now. But with the way Team Liquid is right now, boy, it's going to be a tough ask.
Yeah, and I mean, X Factor, I think you really got to take the fight to Team Liquid. Alpha 7 just has too prime of a position, even though they're kind of the ones that haven't been popping off this game. You got to give the respect to the positioning, but looks like these teams, we're actually maybe going to see a vehicle play come out from the squad Alpha 7, though. I mean, we could see it in the bottom left, just completely pinned down, completely focused by all 3 squads. Mythic, though, he does give an opening. No one maybe in a spot to capitalize off of it. For these teams, though, you got to make the most out of those knocks. You cannot be giving it to waste. And for the most part, with 10 seconds left on the zone, you still got to move in. Even if it's just 10 meters, it might be a tall order to ask.
And the thing that's helping out Team Liquid right now is so big. And I was talking about a little annoying brother there for Alpha 7, which at the point right now is X Factor. They're just stopping any type of movement from Alpha 7 going up. You were mentioning that was a great pick that they were able to get there, the great knock on Team Liquid, but they're just not able to do anything. They're truly just absolutely surrounded. And on top of that, 9C, a team that was looking to secure some extra points here, were wondering if they were going to be able to actually put up another good performance. Guess what? This is looking good for them. We might have not been able to see much out of them, but right now, in a top 4 situation, on top of that, they have Willems. But you know what? Let's switch it back. As grenades are coming through, it's going to be X Factor versus Team Liquid, and this could be massive for Alpha 7, as now X Factor's not paying attention on them. They're having to focus on Team Liquid because of how close they are.
Yeah, Havlik just taking the aggression, but the off angle from Chief, not paying attention. Chief really reaping the rewards of playing quiet there. Something you cannot stress enough. And now Team Liquid, they were worried about nades. They're taking the aggression. One man, one extra angle to worry about. You got to go for the shots. FSS, though, he's the one tested, getting knocked immediately. No return knock. Mythic now finally getting found. Capri's almost getting the second. Has to start moving in forward. We're talking 1v3 now on the hillside. That's not going to be enough. But during that happen, 7, Alpha 7's looking for the third party. Are they able to capitalize on it?
It's a team that just needs a tiny opening, and that's the opening that they were looking to get as Alpha 7's now is trying to make that push. Team Liquid having to play King of the Hill, trying to keep everybody of this hill. Grenades are going to be coming through. Right now, Team Liquid is a little bit hurt from the fight that happened earlier.
Oh.
There you go. Revo and Mafioso coming now, making sure they get those knocks. All Alpha 7 needed was just a tiny little opening, and they have found it as they're making the push, and they become the kings of this hill. And all they have to worry about is just send a text to the next player. And there is it, ladies and gentlemen. If you had any questions for Alpha 7, they have been answered. I know there was a little bit of confusion there of what happened at the beginning of the first match in Erangel, but this is the Alpha 7 that we wanted to see out of the double points. Being able to clutch out what it looked like to be a very unlikely victory and coming out on top with that first place.
Yeah, this is just an overdue kind of thing of Alpha 7. They needed to have a game like that. Now, obviously, they were on that back foot, having to really struggle coming out of that shack and rotate around. But Taylor, at least in this game, they were able to recognize, hey, this is our chance to go, and they did not waste it.
Yeah, and they did wait until the perfect opportunity to attack, which a lot of teams wouldn't do that, right? It takes a lot of trigger discipline and ability to say, okay, we're going to hold still, stay put. We're not going to get in there and try and third party too early because we're going for gold, and that's what Alpha 7 ends up doing. Great on them, man. That is a massive game. 8 eliminations, win a winner chicken dinner. And let's not forget, right, they are Group D, so they're getting those bonus points. So a lot going well for them. Big recovery after map 1. 7, they're a team that, they can have their back against the wall. They don't get too hung up on that, right? They don't beat themselves up. Alpha 7 is a team that can recover and recover well.
Oh, yeah, we definitely seen this team recover. I mean, earlier I was talking about consistency. I know, especially in the international events, a lot of viewers were making fun of Alpha 7 because they would always end up second place. But, I mean, like, that's a massive thing on the positive side for Alpha 7 because it just shows to how consistent this team is and the way that they were able to somehow get this win, wait it out patiently, wait for the right moment. They had X Factor just pretty much stopping them from doing absolutely anything there for the most part of that second half of the game, to finding the right situation between X Factor, finding Team Liquid, making that push up and overpowering Team Liquid. That's what you want to see out of Alpha 7. I'm not worried. I do want to mention, though, with Alpha 7, with what we heard from Carrillo earlier in the interview at the start of the day, with him saying that they weren't really able to prepare enough, I wonder how long that's going to take until we start seeing maybe the rust come off them and actually start performing like what you were expecting to Reflections.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the thing is, Alpha 7, I've been harping on them for not looking like the Alpha 7 of old. I want to see them step it up, but they are still doing great comparative to so many teams out there, right? And that speaks volumes about this roster, the fact that they can have or be rusty, not as practiced as they were during the spring season going into the Esports World Cup and still perform as they are. It just comes to show you these guys, they're just on a different level. But so is 9Z and Team Liquid. Consistency is key, and both of these rosters have it, Enigma.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, obviously 9Z just clutching up with the placement there in that match, getting top 2. We see it right there at the end. But Team Liquid, I mean, I can't stress enough, they almost seem to have this bubble around them where they're playing in the match and able to just push everyone away. And that's how they're able to soak up 11 eliminations in this match, being able to kind of stay up there. But I mean, Alpha 7, we're talking a pretty 6-point game, something that was long overdue from the squad. They were happy, though, they're able to do it on their bonus point stack.
Yeah, Alpha 7, they needed 93 points at the start of the day to get first place. Now, granted, Team Liquid, they had a great game number 1, 15 eliminations, winner, chicken dinner, so they'll taper off that 36 points, and it's still going to be around 90 or so in order for them to get up to first place. But it's a great start. More importantly, it's a wonderful start to break into top 5, which is the main goal not only for Alpha 7, but also for 9Z on their double points day. We look at page 2. This is where you start to see some teams have their struggles. 7, I do notice Energy Galaxy with 6 points. You also have Eco Gaming, who, tore it up at the beginning, but fizzled out a little bit too early. But 6 points, they'll have to take it.
Yeah, for Inco Gaming, I mean, this is not what you want to see in regards to the placement points, but the eliminations, I mean, this is what we know about this team. We know that they can definitely get those eliminations. The big question mark, though, comes down to the placement points. This team needs to figure it out, and I think it might take a little bit longer for this team with the kind of marriage that they're currently trying to build, of the chemistry between the Brazilian players and also the NA players coming in, working out that roster. For them, I actually like what I saw in that last game. I liked how they were committing to fights. I liked what the fights that they were able to take as well. And a team that I do have to highlight here on the overall rankings, even though they do end up losing a placement point or a place to Alpha 7, has to be X Factor.